my name is Christina Eberhardt. I am a global recruitment coordinator here in the global recruitment team, and I've been here for about a year, and I absolutely love it. And we do have our special guest today. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Bruce McWilliams. I'm the Executive Vice President of ISS. I've been working in overseas education since 1989. I worked in Moscow, Dubai, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and now I'm here at the home office in Princeton.
Hi everybody, I'm Damon Zarello. I'm the event coordinator for the global recruitment team. I've been with ISS for 5 years now. And before that I was a teacher here in the US. Traveled quite a bit internationally, but I've never taught abroad yet.
I'm Megan Chin. I am the youngest and newest member to the global recruitment team. I'm fresh out of college, so still got a lot of learning to do. I serve as the assistant technology coordinator for the global recruitment team, and I'm kind of just here learning.
Hi, I'm Lisa Lapico. I've been with ISS for a little over 9 years now. I'm a global recruitment coordinator now. Prior to this, I worked in the ISS's foundations department and the compliance department, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in New York.
And speaking of New York, so we are trying to keep this about New York and professional development, but if you do have other questions, go ahead and add them. If you have any personal questions about your file, do email us directly at edstaffing@iss.edu so we can give you a more personal interaction and talk to you about what you're doing moving forward. All right, let's get started. Our first question is, do you recommend business cards in addition to resumes?
I'll take that one. I think it would be a great idea. I think anything that you can do that sets you apart from the other candidates a bit and shows your interest and also kind of keeps your candidacy in the mind of the recruiter is a good thing to do.
All right. Our next question is, what can be expected at the upcoming event? How will it run?
I can jump in there. So all of you are probably tuning in to learn about IRCs, and IRCs in general are a real roller coaster ride. They're multi-day events. There's ups and downs. It's a marathon, not a sprint, so you want to make sure that you are prepared and you pace yourself. This particular upcoming recruitment fair is a 4-day event, and on Thursday we're doing something we've never done before, which has met with great interest, and that is we're offering professional development sessions on Thursday, February 8th. The morning sessions are more geared towards helping you learn about interviewing with international schools and what it takes to live abroad and really be successful. And then the afternoon sessions are more actual sort of heavy-hitting professional development, where we get into the IB curriculum and technology and innovation abroad and diversity in the international classroom. So we are offering professional development certificates for those sessions. Great for you to attend. They should also really help you in your interviews. Friday is our school presentations. So this is when all of the school heads sign up to do a 30-minute presentation. They talk about life in their school and in their country. It's a great opportunity to network and make connections. Strongly encourage you to attend that day if you're able to. Most candidates, when they go to these sessions, it sort of opens their eyes to regions of the world and schools that they may never have considered. It kind of changes your perspective on things, so it's really great. And then Saturday and Sunday are the big days. Saturday morning, first thing at 8 a.m. is interview sign up, and that's when you'll walk into the giant ballroom at the Marriott Marquis, and you'll see schools at their tables lined up all around the perimeter of the ballroom. And you'll go up and you'll speak to these schools, hand them a resume, and hopefully they'll schedule you for an interview. After that, you'll spend the next 2 days interviewing. So this is where it gets a little bit up and down. But thankfully, we have a wonderful team in our office at the event to help you out, offer support and advice, and keep you going. So that's the general overview, I think. Of course, if there's more specific questions, we're happy to answer.
Well, along that note, I do see that we have someone who asked about more information in regards to the professional development sessions. What can we expect from these, and how will these help?
Sure. So there's a wealth of information and a complete breakdown of what the contents of each session is on our website. If you go to iss.edu and you go to the career services link and then select attend a fair, you'll find the ISS Professional Development Day webpage. And like I said, that has a ton of information about each session as well as the presenters. Like I said, the morning sessions are really going to be geared towards one, helping you interview. So what are these schools looking for in their interviews? And then the second morning session is living abroad and thriving. So it's really like what it takes to make it overseas. And then the afternoon sessions, exploring inquiry-based education, is going to give you a real in-depth look at the IB curriculum from a certified IB trainer. Mary Vedra is wonderful, and she travels all over the world doing trainings for the International Baccalaureate Organization. So you really couldn't get a better person to teach you about IB. And then we have, ISS's own Chief Innovation Officer, John Burns, doing technology and innovation in the afternoon. So he's going to dive deep into the uses of technology in the overseas classroom. And then we have a team talking about third culture kids, which is really maybe something that is pretty unique to the international classroom. So that would be a great session to attend to discuss diversity in the classroom. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add to that.
I was going to say is they're very informative. A lot of helpful information that can get you prepared for the IRC and have you be more informed for the recruiting part of the event as well. And since we're still talking about professional developments, someone has asked, all of these PD sessions sound great. How do I choose?
I think I'm fine. The best way to decide is probably to go with your interests. The morning sessions, there's no conflict. You can do both of them back to back. In the afternoon, you do need to choose between the IB session or the technology and the diversity sessions.
So I would say it really depends on your interest and maybe even your background, something that you, or somewhere you're looking to develop your skills, something you're hoping to grow upon. All right. Someone asked about business cards. What else should I bring? That's a great question. Definitely bring copies of your resume. I say for as many positions that you're interested in, you should bring at least 1 to 2 resumes. I say do 150%. So 1.5 times the amount of positions you're interested in. So, because you want to have extras, because you have no idea what you're going to run into. You want to make sure you're prepared. And we do offer a printer on site, so you can print stuff if you need to, but it's better to just have everything laid out ahead of time. So I always say bring at least 1 for every school you're interested in or position you're interested in, and then bring about extra amount, like 1.5 times. What would you say?
Yeah, I think that's about right. You also want to make sure that you have resumes to drop in the recruiter mail folders when you first get there, and also resumes to hand out at interview sign up, because even if the school received your resume in advance, you still want something to hand to them so that they have something physical in front of them to look at while you're chatting.
Some teachers bring a portfolio, especially people involved in early ed and primary will show a portfolio with pictures of the way they set up their classroom. That's always a nice thing to bring. That's something that you take 1 copy of and you share it at your interviews, but you hang on to it. And the other thing I would say, this really isn't something that you bring, but I would encourage you to download the conference app and have that on your phone or tablet or laptop or whatever you choose to bring. I think most people just put it on their phone, but I think that'll be helpful to you at the fair.
Mm-hmm. We also recommend thank you notes or stationery, because you're definitely going to want to write a thank you to the recruiters that you interview with. And I always recommend snacks.
Yes, snacks and comfortable shoes.
And one other thing is to bring your flash drive with all your information on there. So this way you can just put it right into the computers that we have, and then you can print out anything that you need.
Yeah, that's fine.
And having spoken about the app briefly, it's a great opportunity to connect with schools and recruiters ahead of time as well. So if you're planning on attending, you haven't downloaded and started looking at the app, we highly recommend familiarizing yourself in advance. That's
For sure,
all.
because
Yeah.
the app is live as of Wednesday. So you can literally start reaching out to recruiters now.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Go for it. All right. So let's go up to the top again. What can I do to create a really strong file? Lots of letters of recommendation, open letters of rec can be uploaded, add photos of you and classroom, and certification for all classes. So
I think that covers it.
I bet that does cover it. All right.
Yes, everything.
Do you recommend contacting schools and emailing directors/principals before the IRC?
Well, we kind of talked about that just now about how you can use the app to contact some of the recruiters. You can still email them, send them your resume just so that they're aware. Maybe they'll like you enough to schedule an interview well before you get lucky. So
Well, one thing I'll comment on that's really nice is you'll find when you go into the first interview sign-up session, some of the lines are really long. And if you've had prior contact with a recruiter and they've said that they want to meet you and set up an interview, you can go to the front of the line. So I would always, in my view, if you have 10 schools that you're interested in, 15 schools, whatever, I would definitely contact them before and see if you can get a meeting set up with them and let them know that you're interested and let them preview your materials prior to the IRC.
And speaking of, we have another question. Can I set up interviews during school presentations?
That is a common question. I'm glad that came up. It's a good reminder. Generally speaking, it's a good time to network and talk to the people giving the presentations. They don't, generally speaking, set up interviews at that time. But like Christina said earlier, you can contact them through the app as early as now and get that conversation started, and certainly during interview sign up.
All right, our next question is, do I have to stay at the Marriott?
Absolutely. No, you don't. You can stay wherever you like. There's advantages to staying at the conference hotel. There's a number of events that happen in the evenings. And just from my perspective, having gone to these events myself, it's kind of along the lines of what Dana was talking about. These things can be a little bit stressful. And for me personally, I've always found it really kind of nice to be able to just go up to my room and get 15 minutes of quiet. But hey, you know, you don't need to go to the Marriott. And I can tell you that there'll be many candidates there that choose not to go to the Marriott. It's really a choice that you choose to make.
Yeah, it's a matter of convenience. We say stay there if you want to have the option to go up to your room, but if you don't mind kind of leaving your hotel and know you're going to leave your hotel for the day and then get there that night, you can definitely stay elsewhere as well.
You know what, one thing I want to add there is that, you know, people make different choices and it's perfectly fine. We have no rules. But one of the advantages to staying at the hotel is also attending those evening sessions. For example, the candidate recruiter social, which takes place on Saturday night. We know that a lot of people who commute in for the event don't, like, you're exhausted at the end of the day, and we completely understand, and you might have a commute back to where you're staying, so you miss out on those evening events, when really those are when some really important connections are made, and those conversations that are less formal outside of interviews take place. And there have been many a candidate who has gotten a job after the social. So it's kind of still a working event, and we really encourage you to take the time to be there. And staying at the event hotel does make that just a little bit easier. Also, we have a list of people who are interested in sharing rooms. So if you don't want to incur the entire cost of having a hotel room yourself, we have candidates who want to share. So email us at juststaffing@iss.edu, and we'll put you on that list.
All right. Our next question is, do you need to apply for the positions online before the job fair? Is it suggested to do this so that recruiters recognize your name?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would definitely do that. The more that, I mean, you don't want to be seen to be pestering them, because they're going to be having multiple candidates doing exactly the same thing. But you definitely, if you feel you're a good fit for the job in their school and you're interested, I would definitely be contacting them before the fair. And they will expect that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then probably the best way, as Bruce said, to do that is to apply for that job through your dashboard. This also officially puts you in their list of candidate applicants in their dashboard. So if you don't apply for the job ahead of time through your dashboard, it's sort of unofficial. They can't know that you're actually interested.
All right. Our next question is, can you tell us a little bit about the interview process on site?
Oh, that's a good question for Bruce.
Okay, well, we've already talked about interview sign up. So if you can imagine, when you go to interview sign up, all of the recruiters are in this big giant hall, and they're in there waiting for you. They're sitting at tables. Behind them is a posting of their current job positions. So what happens is all of the candidates are outside. You can feel the tension. People are just waiting to get in there, and the doors are closed. At whatever the time is, the starting time is, the doors open, the candidates rush in, and you have a couple of minutes to sell yourself and try and hook up an interview with the school that you're interested in. And keep in mind, there's going to be, I don't know how many schools there are there, but lots. So you'll have 90 schools to choose from. And one thing I would just caution people, because I've seen this mistake before, if you just have one or two schools that you get in the line, and they're in the line, some of these lines are really long. So my advice to you is to be a bit strategic about that and get around and get your interviews. And if there's a big long line, go and get some interviews from other schools and come back, and that line will get smaller before interview sign up ends, and you can get access then. I've seen people blow their fare because they've spent 45 minutes standing at the back of a line and not gone out and get their interviews. So that's phase one. Make sure you get your interviews. And I would strongly encourage you to try some schools that you might not ordinarily think you're interested in. If you kind of like think about when you were applying to college, you know, you had the absolute colleges that you wanted to go to, and then you had your safety schools. I would encourage you to do the same thing at the fair. Once that is over, the recruiters go up to their hotel rooms. In your package that you get from us, all of their hotel rooms will be listed in there. You'll have set up a time to interview with them. When you're making your interview times, don't back them one after the others, or otherwise you'll be late getting to your second one. Leave a little space in between your interviews. And basically, you'll see that if you're going to go to the American School of Dubai, they're in room 302. You have an interview at 2:15, you get in the elevator, leave lots of time because the elevators are crazy in these things.
It's a big hotel.
And get up to 302, and there'll be typically there's a couple of chairs outside the room. So if they have someone in there, you sit down and wait, review their materials. At the time that your interview starts, we tell candidates it's really appropriate to knock on the door so that the recruiter knows, okay, my next appointment is there, and then in you go and you do your interview, and that kind of carries on for the next 2 days.
Yeah. Interview sign up, we often like to relate it to speed dating. It's definitely a whirlwind. It's very exciting, and it's very good to do your research ahead of time. You don't want to be in this very busy event kind of wondering where you want to go, who you want to talk to. Definitely do a lot of research ahead of time through either the app or through your candidate dashboard. All right, our next question is an app. This is so cool. How does it work? Well, that's a great question. So the app, how it works is you're going to receive an invite once you register for the event. And through there, you just got to make sure you have it downloaded on your phone, turn your notifications on so that when we send out announcements or if someone sends you a message, you know you're receiving it. And through the app, you have access to reach out to other candidates, to the school recruiters. You can view the entire agenda for the event. You can also have access to the salary and benefits, the vacancies, as well as just some fun logistics about the fair itself. I know I'm moving stuff out.
Oh gosh, you can connect with your fellow attendees, message back and forth. You can message back and forth with recruiters.
Share business information.
Yeah.
Contact info.
fun things to do in New York. I think it's restaurant week when we're there.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, I think that
there's a bulletin board that allows you to communicate with everyone. There's one for introducing yourself, just to kind of start the conversation. There's one for things to do in the area. So say if you currently live in New York or you often go there and you know some great things to do, you can recommend it for other people in the area who maybe have never been to New York City before. So there's a lot of different options.
And just to remember, it's open now, and there is a feature where you go in and introduce yourself. So go ahead and do that right now. After you've finished getting the pearls of wisdom from us, log off and get on that app.
download.
All right, our next question is, hi, if you have applied for positions but not heard back from schools, how do you go about meeting them? What should our agenda be? That's a good and tough question. I highly recommend that if you haven't heard back from a school that you've applied to, just send them an email leading up to the conference and let them know that you're going to be there and that you'd love to meet with them at the conference as well. That's always a good first step to take. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and after that, you go up to their table and interview sign up, and you speak to them and try to get an interview.
You can also message them in the app.
Mm-hmm.
So leave a message in the app. And do you guys still have the boxes for the messages?
Yep.
Okay, so
mail folders.
So also that you can put a note. Every recruiting school will have a folder, and you can put a note to them in that folder when you arrive. So those are 3 ways. And I tell you the truth, again, I don't think you should pester them, but I think doing all 3 of those would be a good thing. Email, put the message in the app, and put the message in their box.
Kind of covering your bases.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, our next question is, I'm interested in a couple of schools only. Is it worth my time to come to New York City?
Great question.
It's a very good question.
Well, we generally advocate you being interested in a wide variety of schools to enhance your chances of success in attaining a position. But of course, we know that everybody has preferences. Only you can decide whether or not it's worth it to make the trip to New York City. Take a look at the jobs of your dashboard and, sort of reflect on whether or not it is worth the expenditure. It's really a personal decision.
We do highly recommend keeping an open mind. I can't tell you how many times I've had a candidate come up to me and say, there's this school I didn't even think about, and then I went to the presentation and I've been, floored, I'm amazed. And now I really am excited to talk to them at interview sign up. So definitely keep an open mind, definitely attend those school presentations, because there's things that you'll learn that you didn't even realize were possibilities.
Yeah, the other thing that I would say is, don't just choose a location, choose the school. One mistake that new candidates make is they only think about location. And I would say when you get to the fair, one thing I think you will find is the veteran overseas educators will be talking more about the schools. The new ones to the fairs will be talking about the locations. Location is important, it's a nice thing, but you don't want to be in a school that you're not a good fit in a great location, because you're gonna have a miserable time. It's much better to make sure that you're a good match with the school, and that's where you often find, wow, I never thought in a million years, in my case, to tell you the truth, I never dreamt I was gonna go to Dubai. But when I went and interviewed with Dubai, and this was before anybody knew where Dubai was, when I went and interviewed with Dubai, I realized, wow, this is a great school. I'd never heard of it before, and next thing you know, there I was in Dubai. So I would encourage you to have more of an open mind, and I would encourage you to go to those school presentations, because very often people go with 1 or 2 schools in mind, and they find themselves getting hired at another school, and they're really jazzed and really excited about it. So have an open mind and go and take a look.
All right, our next question is, what happens if I receive an offer from a school, but I'm not sure about the school or country? Who can I ask for help? Great question.
It is a great question.
Well, that's what we're here for. So the global recruitment team is going to be at the event to help you along the way. We're here to answer any questions you have, any concerns. Our senior leadership executives are going to be there as well. They're highly experienced in international education. If you see one of them walking down the hallway, sorry to call you out on this, but definitely ask them a question. Say, hey, I just talked to the school and I'm wondering about X or Y. and talk to them about it. Laura, our amazing director of our department, she is fantastic. She'd be happy to answer questions as well. So come on by the candidate office and let us know if there's anything on your mind. Even if it's a simple question as whether or not I should have coffee this morning. We're happy to help.
And we try to have our senior people in the candidate lounge virtually the whole time the conference is running. There is almost always going to be someone there, and there's posters up with their pictures so you'll know who they are. And those will all be people who have done a career in international education. They'll be happy to go through and look at any contract offer you get, or give you some advice, or any questions that you have. They'll be happy to help you with it.
One last thing I just want to point out here is that although we are always willing to help, we do also ask you to do your research on the school and the country. And like Bruce was saying, make sure that the school is a good fit. Ask them about their curriculum, ask them about their turnover rate. Ask to speak with a teacher on the ground before you sign that contract or accept an offer.
You make a really good point. The school knows better than we could ever know because each school is different. So if you have a very specific question that has to do with that school in particular, we always recommend talking to the recruiter or to whoever your point of contact is at that school. All right, our next question is, will offers be made? If offers are made, what can we expect? How should we handle these offers? And what about if multiple offers are made?
Offers will be made. Offers are made. Yes, they are. It depends on the school, and every recruitment fair is different. It's always an exciting time. If multiple offers are made, well, I guess the important thing is that you can't accept multiple offers at once.
Yes.
We do, ISS policy is such that once you do accept an offer, even if it's a verbal acceptance, you're bound by your word to show up, so we consider you under contract if you even verbally say, you know, I agree to this, or yes, I'm coming. So it's important to really think carefully and make sure you've covered all your bases before you do accept an offer.
And it's completely okay to say you need some time to consider an offer. We encourage you to do your research and look stuff up because it is a big decision to make, and it's exciting, and it's definitely a pivotal event. So definitely do that research, and do remember that once you do accept an offer, it is a binding agreement.
And if you have any doubt at the end of your interview or at any time, I would encourage you to ask the recruiter directly, are you making an offer to me? Because I'll tell you why. I've experienced all the time in that candidate lounge where a candidate thinks that an offer has been made to them because when they were in their interview, the recruiter was going through the terms of the contract. But he may be doing that with every candidate that he has. So it's really okay to be at the end of it say, gee, I was really interested in your school. The contractual arrangements look great to me. Is this a formal offer? Are you making me a formal offer? That would not be seen to be forward by any of the recruiters. You just want to make sure that you know your status, because I've seen over and over again candidates thinking that they have an offer when in fact an offer has not been made.
All right. Our next question is, what role does the new event app play in the flow of the fair? That is a great question. So I would say that the event app has made our fair, it has added a whole new element to it that we didn't have before, such as being able to connect at any time during the event. So the fact that you can reach out now rather than having to wait for the event is a great opportunity, as well as the fact that the event app does stay live for, I believe it's a week after the end of the fair. It stays live for a week after the end of the fair, which gives you a chance to, if there's anyone that you wanted to share your contact information with or anyone else you wanted to reach out to, you still have that opportunity. So it kind of, I think the best way to say is the event app provides you with more opportunities than we had without an event app at the fair. What would you guys say?
Yeah, it facilitates the entire event, but most importantly, it facilitates the communication between fellow candidates and between recruiters and candidates. It's been a game changer, really.
And it's been super helpful because we're getting a couple questions, even like when we're out of the office, we get a couple notifications about questions. inside the app too.
And speaking of, there is a bulletin in the app that says ask organizers anything. So it gives you a chance that if you can't, stop by the candidate office, you can throw in a quick question in the app and we'll answer it as soon as we can. As well as you having on your phone the vacancies information, the salary and benefits information. It takes you a couple clicks on your phone and you can immediately find the information you're looking for. So it also provides a convenience factor as well. All right, our next question is, will all recruiters that attend the fair have their jobs posted before the fair? Or will recruiters have some jobs posted only at the fair?
Most of the time, the recruiters post their jobs in the database. So what you see when you search jobs now, you should find the jobs that are at the fair. There are always positions that open last minute, so there may be some add-ons at each school. There may also be positions that are filled before the event. So this kind of goes back to that, like being flexible and keeping your options open. If you're only coming to New York to meet with one school, there is a chance that that job could be filled before the event in February. So it's best to, kind of keep an open mind.
Most definitely. So our next question is, what do you recommend we say when we sell ourselves to the school? What information is good to give and what can we leave out? So this is where we always say preparing an elevator speech ahead of time. And the reason it's called an elevator speech is the idea behind it is if you're in the elevator with someone and you're trying to pitch yourself to them, you have that time in that elevator ride to say what you need to say. So when it comes to preparing an elevator speech, we often recommend introducing yourself, saying what position you're interested in, why you think you would be a good fit for that position, as well as you would be a good fit for that school. So it shows that you've done some of your research on the school, as well as the fact that it immediately says what you're interested in. What do you think?
Yeah, I would make sure that you demonstrate that you've gone on the school's website, that you understand what the mission of the school is. If you can find out who the sponsor of the school is, what type of kids go to the school, why you're a good fit for that particular school and the missions that they've developed for the school. All of the schools are quite different. So it's really beneficial both for yourself as well to demonstrate that you've done your homework. And I think you want to come across as someone that can bring value to the school in their after-school program. I think you want to try and, I don't know how you necessarily do this, but I think they're looking for collegial, flexible, cheerful people. I think your demeanor is important. And I don't think you should be anything but yourself either. I think you need to be who you are. I wouldn't try and pretend you're someone else. It's kind of like if you have company over, you do your vacuuming and tidying up, but you don't go out and buy new furniture. So just do your vacuuming and tidying up before you go there.
All right. Our next question is, how do you get the interview, and is there a line to set up the interview?
Yeah, so Minna, this is what we've been kind of talking about with the interview sign up. You go into the room, this is for interview sign up. You stand in line and you speak with the recruiter at the table for that school. And from that discussion, they will decide whether or not if you don't quite meet their credentials to get you the interview.
So the recruiter will set up the interview with you depending on how that initial conversation goes. And you can either schedule it via the app, you can do it via calendar, or whatever works best. But a lot of our recruiters have been using the app to schedule interviews, and you have an agenda on there to make it easy to have everything in one place. Our next question is there an ideal number of interviews you recommend signing up for? Well, I would say don't overburden yourself. Once again, we mentioned leaving at least 15 minutes between each interview. So do keep in mind that you have to eat and basic things like that. So it all depends on how many positions you're interested in, what schools you're interested in. If you are interested in every school that has a position in your fields, go and talk to them. Just once again, make sure that you leave enough time between each interview and you've scheduled it out. Right? Anything I'm leaving out? Okay.
No.
Our next question is, most of the schools attending are IB schools. What can someone who has no IB experience do to optimize their chance?
attend our PD session on Thursday about exploring the International Baccalaureate curriculum. Right? Just had to get that in there. No, but seriously, that would be a very valid suggestion. Like I said, that's a deep dive into the IB, so you're going to want to understand a lot of the principles of IB after that session. Other than that, if you absolutely can't attend that on Thursday, I would do some research into the IB and inquiry-based education and see what you can glean from that research so that you can at least have an intelligent discussion during an interview.
And Vivian, I would also say there will be lots of schools there that will not be looking for IB. So you can rest assured that there will be schools there that are not IB schools. The other thing is a lot of the schools that are IB schools, if they think you're a good solid teacher and a great fit for their school, they will hire you and then provide the training for you to get certified in the IB. Or at least other schools will hire you and say, you know, go in the summer and get your certification. So I wouldn't let the lack of IB certification get in your way. You'll do just fine. I mean, is it an advantage to have IB? Absolutely. But can you have a successful career without it? Absolutely.
All right, our next question is, should my husband come with me or should I leave him home with the dog?
Definitely leave him home.
No, he's more than welcome to attend. We would say your dog could, but we can't. No, unfortunately. No, any accompanying partner or spouse is more than welcome to join. Just please let us know in advance so we can have a guest badge prepared ahead of time for them. In regards to school presentations, they're more than welcome to join you for that, for our social. We understand the importance of sometimes having someone there for support. It's really nice.
And also the schools may want to speak with your significant other.
Very true, because I mean, it's not going to be just you, it's going to be you and your significant other who are going to be moving for the new position. All right, our next question is, will all the jobs be filled at the event? Will this be the end of recruiting / hiring? What should we expect afterwards? That is a great question. And not an easy one to answer.
Well, not every single position will be filled. A lot of recruiters will be looking to the candidates that have applied online and have not been at the events to see if they find a better fit. If not, they've probably found it at the fair. Usually recruiting ends and starts slowing down around March into what, June? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there will definitely be chances after the event to get hired.
In fact, we have an iFair scheduled for St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. So there's one more online event after this last in-person event.
All right, and our next question is, I'm interested in making the exciting jump to international teaching either this coming fall or next fall. Is it worth going to New York City and PD sessions and the iFair, even if I'm not 100% sure I'm ready to leave this year?
Good question.
That is a very good question.
Yeah. Yes. So it's if you're open to recruiting this year and teaching abroad next year, then it's absolutely worth your while to attend New York, especially the professional development, and see what's out there. There's going to be different openings next year, so you may find your best fit this year, and you may find it next year. Yeah.
And just to clarify, just to clarify, a lot of the schools are already recruiting for, or currently recruiting for the 2018-2019 school year. So if you are interested in working internationally this upcoming fall, then you most certainly can start looking now.
Mm-hmm.
And the membership's still 2 years?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay, so the membership's still 2 years, so if you've got your membership this year and you choose not to go out, you can always come back with the same membership next year.
Mm-hmm. And professional development sessions are always helpful. All right, our next question is, I'm a part of a teaching team, and we have an interest in a school that is managed through ISS. Do you have recommendations for interviewing with that school? That is a difficult question to answer when we don't know what the specific school is. But in regards for interviewing in general, we recommend obviously doing research ahead of time. That's probably the most important thing, is just being knowledgeable on the school that you're interested in. Because it does show that you really took the time to get to know more about that particular school.
Mm-hmm. We have roughly 20 ISS managed schools. And the process for setting up an interview with them would be the same as any other school. You would attend interview sign up and reach out to them via the app.
All right, our next question is it important to attend the social, or is that just an optional bonus? I would say it's important to attend in the fact that you have the opportunity to talk to more recruiters, more experienced educators. You don't have to attend, it's not mandatory, but it's a fantastic opportunity to connect with people. For example, say there's a school you're really interested in and they don't have a position open this year in your field. You can talk to the recruiter at the social and get to know them and make that initial connection that might end up being beneficial down the road or in the future.
You can also, it's a chance to meet other teachers who also taught abroad. And this way you can speak to them and get some insight on what it is to teach abroad.
I think Lisa's raised a really good point there. There's something about the fairs that's really special if you're new to international education, and that is all the contacts you make with the teachers. And you really get the inside story of what it's like to be an overseas teacher. There's a lot of bonding that goes on at the fairs. I think a lot of the people at the fairs really have a good time there outside of the interviews. And that tends to happen at those socials. So I agree with Lisa. I would really encourage you to go. And also, I can absolutely guarantee you that there will be offers made in New York at the social. I've never been to a fair in my life that there weren't offers made at the social. So it's a working event. I know Laura always says, remember now, those socials are a working event for you. It's your chance to network. So I would take advantage of it.
And as you mentioned earlier, you talked about how someone would stay in a line the entire time and not get a chance to talk to people at interview sign up. If you didn't get a chance to talk to someone at interview sign up that you really wanted to, a social is another opportunity for you to connect with them. So
Absolutely. And there's free food.
that always helps.
And free wine.
All right, our next question is, what happens to my membership if I accept a position? What do I have access to? It's a great question.
It is indeed. So
we just started a new membership model. When you accept a position and you're hired, your membership is not canceled. Of course, you are no longer recruiting. You will be marked as hired in our system, so that way the recruiters know that you're not looking for a new position, but your membership is still active in the fact that you can still attend our events to network and meet other educators. You can attend our professional development sessions. You can still reach out to us for any help you may need. And you can attend our wonderful webinars.
yeah, I was going to say, what don't you still have access to? But essentially the only feature that you don't have access to as a hired candidate is the ability to apply to jobs, which you don't even need.
And you will still receive job alerts if you want to receive them, just to stay updated on what's going on in international education. All right, our next question is, what contract details or additional paperwork should we make sure we see before accepting an offer? That's a very good question. I'm going to kind of throw that towards you, Bruce.
You know, I will say again that there will almost always be a senior person from ISS in the candidate lounge. And one of the things that I spend a lot of time doing at the fair, you'll actually see me there doing it, we'll be going through people's contracts with them once they have an offer. So feel free to do that with an ISS representative before you accept. Here's some things that are important to think about with your offer. You want to make sure what the tax situation is in the country. Are you subject to tax? If so, what percentage? Typically, you're not, but there are some countries where you do pay tax. That can make a real difference in your take-home pay. You want to make sure what type of accommodation is being provided for you. Most schools have some accommodation benefit, and sometimes schools in Europe don't, but most schools do. So you want to find out, am I getting an allowance, or are they providing me a furnished apartment? If so, how many bedrooms, what's the square footage? Those kinds of things you want to know about. You want to know about the medical, dental, life insurance. All of that is really important. What's the retirement program? You know, are you joining a program that you have to join, or are they providing a financial benefit for you? All of those things are really important. And one of the things that you'll find in overseas education, it's much harder to know whether you're getting a good deal or not. And so I would sort of encourage you to look at it this way. Think about how much money you're putting in the bank at home, And then think about all of the payments that you have to make. And then imagine yourself, if you're living overseas and you're not subject to any taxation, you have free rent, free utilities, airfare home every year. That's another thing. Make sure you understand your airfare benefit. What ends up happening is in many locations, you can make much more money. By that, I mean the money that you put in the bank at the end of the day than you would in a comparable job back home. So look at everything, and it can be really kind of confusing when you're first starting to do this. And here's another time where the other candidates can be a real help to you. That lounge is going to be full of candidates. Some are brand new. Some have done this many, many years. And they will really be more than willing to help you with any questions that you have. Don't sign a contract and don't take a verbal contract. Don't commit verbally unless you're absolutely sure. In the world of overseas education, a verbal agreement is binding. So do not take that contract unless you're absolutely confident that that's where you want to be.
All right. Our next question is, when I attend the job fair, I will have yet to graduate from college. I graduate in May. What is your advice for people who have little to no experience with job searching, especially with international job searching? That is a great question. And to kind of go from Bruce's point there, that's where talking to your fellow educators and other attendees of the event can be really helpful, because there's people who've been doing this for years who are applying for jobs, and in the candidate lounge, it's a great opportunity to talk to them and talk to them about applying to international jobs. I also highly recommend advocating for yourself, sending those follow-up emails, reaching out to the recruiters, leaving your resume in the mailboxes, and leaving thank you notes. It's those little touches that can really make a difference.
Emily, it's going to be a little bit more challenging for you, unfortunately, because you don't have any full-time experience as a teacher. There are some schools who, due to host country restrictions, will not be able to consider you without that experience. So when we talked about going around to interview sign up and hitting every school, literally hit every school. You're going to need to keep your options wide open. There are absolutely schools that will be interested in you. So it's just a matter of talking to every school with a position in your content area and getting those interviews.
And to just take off on what Dana said, when you go in and interview sign up, there's going to be schools with really long lines. That means those schools are highly competitive. You're probably not going to be competitive in those schools. I would encourage you to go to the lines, the shorter line schools where you've got a better chance. And also, Emily, I would also say to you that you have a chance to get hired here. People without prior experience get hired at fairs. It's just, Dana's right. It's a little more challenging, but certainly not undoable. But open your net wide.
Emily, if you can too, check out our PD session on Thursday morning about interviewing with international schools. That should be really interesting.
All right. Our next question is, what exactly is an iFair and how do they work? That is a great question. So an iFair is kind of like a virtual interview sign-up. So it takes that aspect of our conferences and puts it all online. So you can attend from the comfort of your own home and still connect with international schools. Similar to what we were saying with interview sign-up, where each school has a table, and an iFair, each school will have a little booth or a little tile that you can click into to talk to that school. So it's a similar process. You go in, you talk with them. It is going to be in a typed chat. We often recommend typing up your elevator speech or your introduction ahead of time so you can copy and paste and save a little bit more time. And often, just to clarify, with our iFairs, the interviews often happen on Skype after the fair ends. Sometimes it can happen during the fair, but normally they're scheduled for afterwards. All right, our next question is, what is the optimum time to reach out to the recruiters prior to the fair?
Start now. The app is open, so contact away.
And apply to positions in the database, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Any recommendations on dress? That is our next question. Dress?
Go ahead.
Dress for the days that you arrive is, we recommend business casual. Same for the social, smart casual, slightly more relaxed. But for your interviews, you're going to want to dress in a suit or some other kind of formal business attire.
And wear comfortable shoes.
Yes, wear comfortable shoes, and if you really want to wear heels with your suit because it looks great, have a pair of comfortable shoes with you on hand. Just that way when you're running from place to place or you want to go grab food, you don't have to worry about walking someplace in uncomfortable shoes. All right. Our next question is, do you have to stay for all 4 days? What distinguishes one day from the next? Are they all for interviews? Is the agenda published for all days?
Hi, Minna. Yeah, the schedule for the event is online. If you go to iss.edu and then career services and attend a fair, if you click on the New York event, the schedule is right there for you. You don't have to stay all 4 days, but the one probably day, an event that you can't miss is interview sign up at 8 a.m. on Saturday, and you're going to want to stay pretty much all day on Saturday to do your interviews. If you can stay Sunday, that would be ideal. We do realize that people have to fly out at some point sometimes to get back to school for Monday. We strongly encourage Thursday and Friday, but we understand that it's sometimes not feasible.
All right, our next question is, you mentioned the orientation is mandatory. What if I can't make it?
Oh, I'm so glad that came up. Do you want to address that?
I've been getting this question a lot. We have 2 technical orientations, one on Friday that is mandatory for people who can make it on Friday night to kind of learn about how the interview process is going to work the next couple of days. The next one will be on Saturday morning before interview sign up, so that's before 8 a.m. It's like 7:30.
7:30.
So if you are a candidate that is coming to the event, you do need to go to one of these orientations so that you know what to expect during the interview process throughout the next 2 days.
And just to second what Megan said there, the main orientation on Friday night is going to be much longer and in depth. It takes about an hour, and it also has the added advantage of having a panel of overseas recruiters there to answer your questions live. So any questions that you have for them that we can address for you, specific questions about different regions of the world or whether or not you can bring your dog, all of those questions will be answered by those people in New York on Friday night. The sort of makeup session is very brief and it's sort of just the nuts and bolts. So if you can get there for Friday evening, it would be to your advantage.
All right, our next question is, if we are offered a job and accept a job at the fair, what is the next step? Well, I would say the first step is letting us know, because we want to congratulate you. And we'll also mark you as hired in your system, as we mentioned before, just so that way recruiters know that you have accepted a job and you're no longer looking. And then the next step would probably be working with the school and starting your transition to move overseas. I believe Bruce might be able to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And it will really vary on the location. The school will give you guidance if a visa is required, how to get the visa, a labor permit, how to do your car license if you're going to get a car, how to negotiate the shipment and how that's going to work, your shipping to your location and what kinds of things you should bring. The schools are pretty good about onboarding their people. But it's hard to comment generally because it's so location specific. But really, the school will guide you through all of that. One thing I will tell you, sometimes the school is going to give you a deadline for getting certain paperwork to them. Make sure you hit those targets, because I've had people that don't arrive at school on time because they haven't sent their passport copy or whatever in the right time frame. And realize that the school is only part of who's processing all of this paperwork. It's the local government, and the school can't control the speed at which they do that. So if the school tells you we need this by March 15th, make sure you get it there by March 15th, or you might not make the first day of school.
All right.
And your new school won't like that.
Yeah, it's not a good first impression on the first day. All right. Our second question is, how much time do you have to decide whether to accept a job? Does it depend on the school?
So they need to give you a minimum of 24 hours at the very least to make your decision. A lot of schools will give you more time. But this is something that you can discuss with the school as well.
And if you do need more time to consider an offer, you can always ask for it. It never hurts to ask.
You do have to keep in mind though that if you're going to decline the job, they do still need to hire somebody. So, you know, try to be sensitive to that as well.
All right. Our next question is, I just got a job, but I'm still going to New York. Can I stop by the IRC?
Congratulations, Ashley.
And most definitely stop by. We'd love to see you. We have our professional development days, which are open to anyone. You don't have to be recruiting to attend. Same thing with the social. It's a great opportunity to network and talk to people, and we'd love to have you there and just congratulate you in person. It'd be wonderful.
For sure, it'll be a celebration.
All right, our next question is, I was hired straight out of college. Oh, it's Laura. She's saying she was hired straight out of college and to be open-minded. We do have a couple more minutes, so I just want to answer some questions that were sent actually in advance before the webinar started. One of which is, I have particular schools I would like to interview with. What are your thoughts about my chances of actually getting an interview, and is it competitive to get an interview? Well, as you were talking about before with interview sign up, keeping an eye on the lines for each school and making sure you talk to the schools and be strategic about whether you want to stand in line for the entire event of interview sign up, or if you want to make a point to go and talk to other schools at the interview sign up. Our next question is, we described that earlier. Any advice on how to prepare for an interview before going in?
I think we've said a lot of it already. I would say make sure you know a little bit about the school. Make sure you know how your prior experience and the skills and expertise that you have are going to make a difference in that school, and find a way to present that during the course of the interview. You know, think about the things that you really do well in your classroom. What are you really proud of that you do for the children that you work with? And make sure that at the end of the interview, you've communicated that effectively.
All right, our next question is, do you recommend candidates to send an email to the schools directly?
Yes, I think we've addressed that. You can contact them through the app or at the email address that's listed in the job details when you search jobs in your dashboard.
All right. Some schools are asking to go through their online application process in addition to applying online to the database. Is that the norm? Is that often what you would see?
You know, that depends. A lot of times you'll apply through your dashboard and then you'll send an email to their general email address and you get an automatic reply that directs you back to their application system on their website. So I would say it depends. And if you're unsure, do it. If you're really interested in that job, do it. But most of the time you're covered through the ISS application process.
All right. I think we've answered all of our questions thus far. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any additional questions afterwards or leading up to the event, you can always email us at staffing@iss.edu, or you can just come by and say hi at the candidate office or stop one of us at the event. We look forward to seeing you all there, and good luck. Happy recruiting.
And please do come and see us.
Yep, stop by.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.